Many thanks for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. We did tell you before we went on that break that our focus on the program today is on renewable energy, answer to Nigeria's electricity challenges. And of course, we also spoke about the intention of the federal government of Nigeria to spend a certain amount of money taking a trip to Egypt to study how that country is generating and, of course, distributing electricity. As much as that is a problem, we're also looking at how best we as Nigerians can begin to find workable solutions to, providing alternative source of energy to ourselves, aside what we do get from the power generation from government. And so renewable energy is preferably the best way to go. But again, our guest this morning will take us through what renewable energy is all about, how cost effective this is, and if we really can totally boycott electricity supply from, the national grid or the popular means of electricity supply. We do have two gentlemen joining the conversation this morning. One is here with us in the studio, live and direct. The other will be joining us via Zoom. Join us this morning as we make welcome Segun Adaju. He is a board member, Renewable Energy and Energy Efficiency Alliance. Thank you, Mr. Adaju, for joining us here in the studio.
Good morning.
And joining us via Zoom this morning is an alternative energy consultant, Bode Adefulu. Thank you for joining us via Zoom.
It's a pleasure having me here.
All right. So let's begin with you, Segun, because you're here with us here. So when we say renewable energy, I know that it is not new to Nigerians, but perhaps you'd like to break it down. When we say renewable energy, what are those sources that we're really talking about?
Thank you so much, Ma. Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
So when we talk about renewable energy, we're basically talking about energy sources that can replenish itself naturally. Okay. Over a short period of time. And this includes, for example, solar. We're talking about wind. We're talking about biomass. That's energy that can be generated from biodegradable materials like paper, sawdust.
What we think are waste.
Exactly, what we think are waste. They are actually, resources to generate power. And so renewable energy, it's different from the regular energy sources. For example, let me use fossil fuel. We have petrol, diesel, and the rest. It takes a longer time for fossil to develop. It takes hundreds of years. But the sun rises and falls every day.
Right.
So that's the major difference between what we call renewable and non-renewable energy resources.
Okay.
It's naturally is able to replenish itself very quickly. The wind blows, every day. So if well tapped, these energy sources can actually provide quantum of energy and electricity to power ourselves. And in this time, I've seen biogas digesters where even, waste, any kind of waste, including human waste, waste in abattoirs that are converted to gas, clean cooking gas. Some are converted to even fertilizers and the rest. So, so the difference is renewable. It can replenish itself. It's natural, and you don't have to wait for a long period of years for it to form.
Okay.
It's said that our fuel, our oil reserves, in less than 40 years, I'm sure we'll be running out of that.
There's a depletion.
Yeah, so it will take another hundreds of years for it to form, if possible. Otherwise, we will have completely exhausted
used up.
Meanwhile, the sun, since day of creation, has been rising.
And you'll be there forever. Okay. All right, buddy. From Segun's explanation this morning, we have different options of renewable energy. But when you look at the way we are investing in renewable energy in Nigeria, are we really making any sense at all, looking at the other options of generating energy that we have that are environment friendly?
Well, thank you very much. I think the first thing is for us to understand renewable energy sources, and I'm glad that my brother and friend Segun Adaju has been able to throw more light on that. The truth of the matter is that we have not taken the opportunity that we have so seriously. I mean, like he said, the sun will always shine, and definitely the wind will always blow. But even in our country, Nigeria, you and I know that we are still grappling with less than 7,500 megawatts, which is not enough for a small estate in some certain places. And unfortunately, we all seem to think that that is the only way. That is the only way. I mean, we are fixated on that source. And no wonder that every now and then we're having what we call grid
National
collapse.
grid.
If only we can focus all our energy on even the sun alone, because the truth of the matter is that we have not yet started tapping the sun. I mean, you and I go have our laundries and we put them on the line. What are we waiting for? We're waiting for sun to shine. So the same way we could also just harness the power of the sun and use it to also power our homes and our offices. Not to even talk about the waste that we are always generating every day. I mean, many other times we have those animal dungs, we have those stock away stocks, and then we are thinking that they are not useful. No, they are very useful. And it's only a government that is going to continue to be forward thinking, that's going to continue to direct our thoughts to all these available options that we can do without necessarily spending money. I mean, every now and then we know how much we are spending to actually wake up the grid when it collapses.
Right, to wake up.
We're waking up the grid. But in all honesty, you don't need...
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
I think the network is
yes.
bad.
Okay. Are you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. We do hope that by the time we come back to Bode, the network would have been clearer. Let me come back to you here, Shegun. And it will take me back to what we opened with on the program this morning, talking about the intention of the federal government of Nigeria to spend a huge sum of money on a study trip to Egypt to study how that country is generating and distributing electricity. And my question is this: is government paying the right attention to renewable energy as a source of power generation in Nigeria? Because when you explained earlier, you did say that, the concentration is on the other source of electricity provision for Nigeria, which of course is the one powered by fossil fuel. And so is government looking into the direction of renewable energy? If not, how can government begin to tap into the wide array of sources that you mentioned when you spoke about sources of renewable energy?
Okay, thank you so much. And thanks, Bode, my very good friend, for your comments. So, yeah, study tours are permissible to understand what other countries are doing.
Right.
But of course, it comes at a cost.
Even if the terrain is different?
Well, yes. There's what we call adaptability. You can take a model from another country, different terrain,
adapt to your
and
own
adapt it to your
system.
own environment.
Okay.
Yeah, it's possible. But we have to look at the cost, and then we have to look at the capacity that we have in-house, maybe in Nigeria. If we have it, maybe those stores might not be necessary. But that's another conversation. Now, to talk about federal governments, there are attempts, to be very honest, there are some efforts of the government to promote the use of renewable energy. And I'll cite a few. Number one, there are some, for example, there's a policy called the mini-grid policy framework that was developed in Nigeria that's seen as one of the best in sub-Saharan Africa. Many other countries are copying. That has led to what we call mini-grids being developed using solar, some other energy sources, small hydro in rural communities. There are policies that have been developed, the Renewable Energy Policy of Nigeria 2016. Even recently, the Electricity Act of 2023 has also mentioned
renewable energy.
Lagos, I've had the privilege of working with Lagos State Government for a year to develop the decentralized renewable energy plans. And I know there are plans, there are efforts, but they are not enough. Okay, that's the truth. And I know, for example, the government of Nigeria has taking loans from World Bank. First of $550 million for the Nigerian electrification project, focused mainly on renewables. The second one is also $750 million called DDES. It's also to promote renewables. So there are efforts. However, I think more effort and concentration is put and placed on the existing sources of energy, fossil fuel, because it probably is the mainstay of Nigeria. That's the highest earning capacity that Nigeria has. Of course, oil money. And then the grid, between 5 to 7,000, just like Bode mentioned, 80% is thermal. That means it's powered by gas.
Right.
And then 20% by large hydro. So
Hydro.
that means we're still focusing a whole lot on. Of course, I believe in gas. Gas is transition energy for Nigeria. It comes with its own challenges. So there are more efforts that we need to put in place to promote renewables in Nigeria.
Okay.
Government has made some policy that creates incentives, but they also turn around, same government will turn around and not allow those incentives to work.
To fly.
To encourage private sector players, investors like Bode,
Yourself.
and myself, to come and deploy these technologies. We have extensive, Bode mentioned the kind of, for example, Maiduguri and the rest is similar to Rajasthan in India. I've been to Rajasthan and I see the kind of what they are doing with solar is incredible.
Okay.
And Nigeria Energy Commission of Nigeria says if we put solar panel on just 1% of the land mass of Nigeria, the land mass is about 920,000 square kilometers, just 1% of it, we can power ourselves. So you can imagine the quantum of resources that we have just from solar alone. And there is wind, there is biomass. The waste from agricultural harvest alone in Nigeria is huge. So that, for example, I'm
the dung.
a farmer's boy. So in those days, you harvest corn, and then all the stock and the rest, you put it one side, put fire to it. That's a huge source for energy, if well tapped.
Well, Jibala, sorry, just so that I don't lose this thought, because again, you talked about the fact that we have abundant resources in Nigeria. Is it also possible that the federal government is also able to look at from region to region and develop what works best for every region? Because you mentioned Maiduguri, and I know that in certain places in the north, the wind will probably be the best idea for them to use. Maybe like places in Lagos, perhaps maybe water. So is it also possible that government begins to look into planning the use of resources as peculiar to every region to drive this course?
Absolutely, and I totally agree with you. There are peculiarities, and I think there's a mapping that has been done of where the resources exist. In the north, it's mainly, solar. In the middle belts, of course, agricultural waste, because that's the food belt of Nigeria.
Right.
In the southern part of Nigeria, small hydro, and even in Lagos. Lagos has developed what we call the integrated resource plan.
Okay.
That shows the energy sources in various parts of Lagos, very detailed plan
Okay.
that's been put in place. And so, yes, those are the kind of resources that we require so that we know that this is the technology that works best here.
In this area.
And what we're saying is, for example, it doesn't make any sense it will be very expensive if you want to do it, to pipe gas from Niger Delta to Kano. Meanwhile, there is sun in Kano, in Maiduguri, in Katsina, that you can generate close to site and deploy.
Okay.
In fact, the energy you are going to lose between, the Niger Delta piping of gas all the way to the north.
To the north.
Is huge.
Right.
Yes, and then that's why we're seeing the, energy shortages, pipeline theft, pipeline vandalization. It's because we have a centralized energy system.
Right.
So get the regions, get the energy sources that are available there, deploy close to site, reduce energy loss, reduce grid collapse. So if the grid has collapsed, I think twice this year, it was 12 times last year. So, and once it collapses, everybody is affected. For that moment, it's only countries that have centralized power systems that experience that.
Right.
Okay, but all these loans that we are taking, like Shegun mentioned, why is it so difficult for us to start feeling the impact of some of these loans? And if renewable energy is the future, why is it so difficult for us to embrace it and, of course, make it affordable and durable for Nigerians to use, instead of depending solely on the national grid, which is always epileptic?
Well, thank you very much once again. I must commend the efforts of the
Okay.
moment you are powering a compressed The way you are buying a compressor and you're going to be, your roof with solar panel, you're going to be running as much as 4 billion naira in today's currency.
That's right.
Wow.
But if you want to say, okay, let me not bother about my fridge, let me not bother about my freezer, let me just my 3-bedroom, let me just have lights,
Maybe
let
your
me
fan.
just enjoy my fan, let me watch my TV. You can manage with just about 2 kVA.
Okay.
Manage with about 2 kVA, and at least that alone is still not coming. You're going to be talking about 1.9 or 1.750 thousand naira.
At
If you
max
want
too.
to say, okay, yes.
Okay.
If you say you want to now squeeze yourself.
Okay, the Zoom is not even being friendly this morning. Thank you so much, Bode, for finding time to join us via Zoom this morning. We'll probably just conclude this with Shego here because you are both on the same page anyway on this particular situation. Thank you, Bode, for joining us on the program. We appreciate your thoughts. So let's quickly conclude with you, Shego, based on what he was talking about. So he's given an explanation. You would need not less than 4 million if you were to power about 5 kVA of a solar panel, and then if you're looking at doing something lesser, just give or take about 2 million is what you'll be looking at. And I like the fact that you already talked about financing. You do not need to pay it at once if you're dealing with, from your end, and then you've also given specifications as to if somebody who's offering to build your solar panel is not able to give you warranty, is not able to give you 5 years on certain issues, don't even bother to deal with such a person. And that answers the question on affordability. Would there be anything that you thought Bode was going to conclude on that you like to say on affordability and then to power the solar panel that you like to complete his thoughts on?
Yes, I from my own experience, and also taking it off from where Bode stopped, I've seen that if you have a generator, I think it's just about the model and adopting it. Of course, when you approach, a potential customer, you say you need 4 million. 4 million. I mean, there are many things you can do with 4 million.
4 million.
And that's, but because of the way the payment system, and it is the way we are already consuming energy. You pay your NEPA, let me use that word. You pay your grid tariff maybe on monthly basis, or you buy credit when your credit is exhausted. For your generator, you buy fuel. You don't buy 33,000 liters and store on that. No.
You buy when you need.
You buy when you need. So it's the same model that some of us have taken into this space. So, for example, now if you need solar and it's going to cost you 4 million, I'll say please don't panic. Just stay calm, right? Do you have 10% or 20%? 20% will be like 800,000. If you don't have, I'll say, do you have? Most banks take 20%. Okay. So that means if you have 800K, you can get that system now, deployed in 48 hours.
Right.
And then the rest you can pay over 3 years.
I mean, that's not bad.
And if you check what you are paying on a monthly basis, from my experience, it will be less than what you are spending on generator.
Right.
Absolutely. So that's the model, and that's the message we need to push out. There was a time I was talking to the federal government of Nigeria. Look, let's engage Nigerian Orientation Agency. I hope I'm correct.
Right.
Yeah. National Orientation Agency.
Exactly. When we were talking of why or whatever, everybody understood what that meant.
Right.
Can we have a platform where we are explaining to Nigerians?
Okay.
My mom in my village, Kabakogi State, has been on solar for 5 years. Yes, because
that's
what you use.
that's what I do. And then it's showing everybody in the community that, Shegun's mama is on solar. And I've even gotten some businesses from that, really.
Yeah, right.
But the payment pattern is the key game changer. And I'm happy that some banks are coming in now.
Okay.
Initially, banks were not ready to, but now.
It's an investment for the banks.
And I'll encourage everyone to just give it a try.
Okay. Beyond also generating power now, I think if indeed we truly embrace renewable energy, just like Bode said, if we are manufacturing here batteries and solar panels, we can also create employment.
Right. Absolutely. And also this is also a promotion for our health, because then we're not inhaling all of those exhaust fumes from the generators and all of that.
So, and like you mentioned quickly, there are some companies in Nigeria already manufacturing. Some of my friends are already doing local manufacturing, but we need more. We need many of us to get into that space. And the inconvenience of using a generator, I can't just imagine. I mean,
The
noise, the fumes, the stress of going to buy fuel, I have escaped that for 10 years. I mean,
And you're enjoying life. Okay. Before we allow you go, finally, would also be the fact that as much as, because Nigerians were a very funny set of people, as much as we're preaching here that, you know, we want more companies to produce locally, we also have a penchant for imported goods. So how do we get around that second-class citizen issue where we also want to promote those things that are produced here as against wanting those things, those batteries that are imported?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's gradually changing.
Okay.
And it's the effort of people like us getting into this space. For example, for many years, this is somebody saw me the other day and said, "This is like your signature look." And I say, "Yes. Anywhere I'm going to the world, this is how I am dressed, no matter who I'm seeing." All right. So and let's bring it to renewables. It is proven that cables manufactured in Nigeria are better than imported cables.
Okay.
Step number one. And many of us have taken that into the market. So it's better to buy the Coleman, the whatever of this world, than an imported cable. In fact, from other countries, they are coming to buy Nigerian cables. That's number one. Secondly, it is the guarantee that I put behind it. Two ways. Number one, I'm deploying a system to you, and I say, you pay me over time.
Right.
If it doesn't work, you will not pay me. So I will ensure that the quality is high.
Quality, yeah.
Yeah, that's number one. All right. So that's also the message, and I also give you guarantee and warranty on it. So gradually, we are shifting that message of, and I think Nigeria is becoming also interested in local produced items and equipment, as long as it works.
It works.
Cars, you know, solar system, solar panel. Interestingly, there's a government solar manufacturing facility called Naseni, somewhere in Kashi. Their panel is one of the best. I mean, so, but of course, it's expensive and it's difficult to compete with China. But we believe in it. It's working very well. It's good. And Oxano in Bejuleki is one of our, you know, stars of the industry. It's doing very good panels. And we rather use that panel than the ones that come from China.
Imported, because they are homegrown.
Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll have to leave this conversation here this morning. Thank you so much, Segun Adaju.
Thank you.
Board member, Renewable Energy and in Energy Efficiency Alliance. Thank you very much for finding time to be here on the program today. Well, that's the much we'll take on the conversation this morning. And like Segun and Bode told us, these things are possible, and banks are already into the financing of, you know, solar panels. So Ajibola, you better get Segun's contact this morning so that you can, you know, we can, so that we can.
I'm expecting some money.
So that we can, and since you're expecting some BEM, so that, exactly, that's why I called his name first. He will champion this cause, so that, you know, we will quickly say how to go about also keying into renewable energy as an alternative.
Even our station, LTV.
Oh,
we spend less on diesel.
Yes, because we spend the entire money on. I think no, but Jibola, thank you. I think, you know, we need to also hold Mr. Adaju, yes, and see what you can do with us here on this particular one. That's the much we take on the conversation this morning. On this side of the table, we'll take a quick break. When we return, Adebimpe will take you through her Lagos conversation.